and roll! It's Scalawags episode.
Oh no, I'm
that's
playing.
not even the original.
I'm playing an old episode because that's the only place I know where to get the music. But I apparently got the one where Dick was in punk rock mode.
That's the infamous Rock and Roll You Pukes episode, which apparently upset an awful lot of people. I guess they're not really Billy Idol fans.
Welcome to Scalawags, all of you Idol haters. Yeah, we.
And if you're watching,
great start to the new year.
If you're watching on video, you'll notice that Josh disappears whenever he talks.
Or he's actually, we don't know, because I see only a black screen, so I'm just assuming that he's broadcasting from a dark cellar with the lights off.
It's an undisclosed location.
Depending on where I move my body, depends on whether or not I show up. It's pretty exciting.
Google has got really secretive about many of their projects, apparently. So this is his undisclosed location now.
It's so secretive that Hangouts just blacks you out. Yeah, so welcome to Scalawags. This is the much belated holiday special. We had travel issues and health issues and all sorts of fun things. Daniel still isn't home.
Where is he?
I think he was fighting bears this holiday season.
He's a man's man, really, isn't he?
Yeah, actually, I think he started a new gig, and so he was doing things for work and travel and family and all that. He lives out in the middle of nowhere, so I think getting to Wisconsin takes about 3 months. By
mule. Mule train across the mountains.
You can only get to his house by mule, yes. Yeah, so it's really good to see you guys and everyone.
Yeah.
We can't say the same about you. Because we can't see you.
But it's kind of enigmatic, though.
It's cool. I'm just the faceless void speaking to you from the future.
Fun question. If you put the hat on, does the hat appear over the black? I mean, I don't know. Maybe we can at least place him in the frame when he speaks by a moving hat.
I can just be this guy the whole episode. It's fine.
All right.
So we should stop harping on it? Is that what you're trying to say?
I think we should go to the episode. People are here to listen to our predictions for 2016 and for 2015.
And the predictions for 2015. I predict that 2015 will have ended by now.
I predict it will have been ending.
I think we're safe in our predictions of 2015.
We could maybe start with some very safe predictions, which is to predict some upcoming conferences.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. What conferences do you predict will happen?
I heard that one's going to happen in Tokyo. Very soon, actually. But
sorry, everyone just froze. So that was yeah. So yeah, conferences coming up in Tokyo, New Zealand, Philadelphia, Ukraine, Warsaw, Oslo, New York, and Berlin.
Yeah.
And we'll
so
put
here we have most of the continents covered.
I have a prediction, though. I'm
waiting for the McMurdo Station Antarctica conference. That one's going to be a doozy.
Yeah, I actually have a real prediction, though. I actually predict that there will be a South African conference. Ooh. Whether or not they invite anyone outside of South Africa, I do predict that there will be one.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, do you have some kind of knowledge of this?
I know that there's a group, so there's a few groups in Africa, but I predict there'll be the first African conference, and I think it's going to be in South Africa, but I could be wrong. That's a prediction.
That'd be fun. So what other ones have we got coming up then? We've got, I wanted to mention Scala Day's Call for Papers is ending in a couple of weeks' time, I think.
But
so
there are two Scala Days again, right?
I think the Call for Papers for both of them ends at the same time, though, doesn't it? Or not?
Yeah, it's January 26th, I think, or 22nd.
Okay. It's for so both May and June Scala Days. The one in New York and the one in Berlin, they both have the same due date for the call for papers, which is actually in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
So get your papers in, guys. get your papers in.
Presentations.
Or presentation paper submissions.
Yeah.
Call for presentations, yes.
And then there's Any Scala coming up in Philadelphia in March?
Yeah, March 4th and 5th. And there will be the first ever type level summit will be co-located the previous 2 days, March 2nd and 3rd. Type level is also doing the same co-locating thing with FlatMap in Oslo in May.
That's cool. And they asked specifically, they're looking out for sponsors for the type level summit. So if you're interested in getting involved in sponsoring that, contact, who was it, Lars or Miles or Eric about that. You can probably find them hanging out on the Scalawags Gitter channel if you want to do that. That's probably the best place to make contact with them. So,
in fact, you should just hang out on the Scalawags Gitter channel in general.
If you've got time to waste, sure.
Yeah. It's a party.
And then what else have we got? Oh yeah, you mentioned FlatMap. That's it. Well, that was quick.
One. Yeah, well, that's the spring conferences. There's more coming.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
and
I predict there will be at
least
one more. There will be at least one more conference.
There will be Coroutines again.
Ooh, that's exciting. Are you planning it this year?
Yeah, I'm doing it again this year. We are going to announce the keynote speakers soon. I don't know if Coroutines isn't Scala specific, but there were a bunch of Scala-esque talks last year. And it'll be around the same time of the year in July. This year it will be in Rome, which is perhaps more exciting. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're interested in Italy.
Take over the Colosseum?
Yeah.
You
can fill that, you're doing well.
Yeah.
So there's also a giant conference coming to Pittsburgh in the sense of it's the biggest dev conference I know of that will be in this town. It's a brand new one called Abstractions.
What?
And they're getting Dick's brother, Larry Wall, to come talk about Perl.
What?
Excellent. Abstractions. That sounds good.
Wait, so
Heather,
how do I find it? I've never heard of it.
You're reacting like this name is taken or something.
No.
It's still in like infancy planning stages. They asked me to speak, so I'm excited. I'm excited.
Cool.
If it gets pulled off, it'll be a good one. It'll be a good one.
And you said it's in Philly.
No, it's in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so I don't know those of you who know much about Pittsburgh, but we have this ginormous convention center, which mostly gets used for scenic pictures in movies such as Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, or whatever.
I found it. It's in August. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
so it's
in August.
ways up the road. Wow.
Yeah, but I'm mostly excited that the conference center will get used for something.
It's a bit like the airport. It's the biggest airport I've ever seen with nobody in it at all. And when I flew through, everything was closed.
Yes.
Like, this is an enormous closed airport.
There's an entire terminal which exists just for vacation travel because they couldn't fill it with anything else. Anyway. All right. So, shall we move on from conferences?
I think so.
Okay. Should we mention the next topic? I guess so. There was a Typesafe update on the renaming.
Yeah,
it sounds like
I was chatting to Bill the other day, and
Howard?
Yeah, no, Bill. Don't call him that. Ixnay.
All right, Dick.
Anyway, we were chatting away, and I can't remember how it came up, but I suddenly said, "Whatever happened to the Typesafe renaming?" And he's like, "I don't know. I'd like to know that too." So we thought between us, we thought it had just gone away, but it looks like there is actually an update on the Typesafe blog, and there's going to be some news coming in February. So apparently that didn't die.
So just to repeat some of the rationale for it coming up in February, it says Mark Brewer put out an update saying that when it comes to the legal side of navigating international regulations, it gets complex and it takes a long time. So legal reasons, I guess, is why they're not able to do it any sooner, which now means February 16.
Is there a name, though, yet?
I think they can't announce it, right?
I imagine there has to be, if they're in legal process. They're probably figuring out if legally they can change it.
Ah, I see. Maybe they don't
Yeah.
want to pre-announce it in case somebody comes in and like.
Seth is very quiet, by the way. Seth
names
has been very quiet.
I'm trying to wonder what I might be allowed to say or not.
Yeah.
I
I can say anything I want now.
I will say this in the subjunctive. I do not think that a blog post like this could have been published unless they were ready, right? I mean, I don't know. That seems logical to me.
Yeah, I mean, they give a date when they'll announce the new name in February. So
Right.
So if we start guessing the new name, can you like sneeze or sniffle or wink when we get it right? Back pressure. Back pressure.
I just hope it's one of my suggestions, like type.
Reactimus Prime? I don't know.
I've muted my camera, so no possible information channel can exist.
We're doing voice stress analysis.
No one can get a read on him.
Yeah, I have the voice stress analysis add-on going here.
Well, he's taking hints from Josh, I think, with the secretive guys, camera techniques.
You can read from my facial expressions right here. All right.
Yeah,
so
that's a pretty good poker face right there, Josh.
we wanted to do an episode on basically predictions for 2016. I was going to go back and look at the predictions for 2015, but the very first one that I heard was my prediction that we would end up with a some kind of functional programming library as part of the standard library, in which I was sorely mistaken. So I'm kind of sad about that, actually, that my prediction did not come true. I hope that it comes true this year, though. I feel like we are much further along at a consolidating on a canonical FP library. Although there still remains two. There's two now in the public, so that's kind of a problem.
Where do I find the predictions that we made last year?
I just listened to the episode.
Oh, okay. Did you take notes about what we predicted? Because I can't remember.
I was going to, and then like all of Christmas I was sick, which is why we didn't have the episode.
Right.
So I like just listened to it while I was in a drug-induced like sleep hibernation state. So there's not a lot that I remember actually.
I don't suppose it's up on Scalawags TV somewhere, is it?
It is actually. I've got it up here.
Did you predict Scala.js? Was that right, Dick? I'm trying to remember.
Dick predicted that Activator would become a cloud-based IDE with a compile grid on Amazon.
Yeah, that didn't happen, did it? Let's see. Oh, I can see some here. Online culture, parser combinators, upcoming conferences. No, I guess that's not the one. Ask the Scalawags. I don't know.
So
the 2014 recap is the one.
Here's another one of Dick. Here's another one of your predictions. You predicted kindness and gentleness for 2015.
I think it was maybe more of a hope than a prediction, and I think I do think we made some strides there. Although there were some regrettable setbacks in that particular arena too. But yeah, I mean there haven't been the same horrible blow-ups as last year, I don't think. So that's pretty good. People are learning tolerance. You know, I was actually going to say something along the lines of the new Star Wars movie came out, which by the way, loved it. Yeah. And Google had the whole which side of the Force are you? And of course, I assume everybody wants to be the Jedi side rather than the Sith side, right? This
is not true, but
okay. Well, it's interesting because if you follow the Jedi. That the Jedi is all about compassion and understanding and peacefulness, and it's all the things that if we did, we'd be more polite to one another. So if you want to be a Jedi, be nice to each other, basically. I don't know if that makes it any more relevant at all or not, but there you go. I thought I'd put my pitch in. And if you want to be on the dark side, then I don't know. There's no hope for you. Go and kill. No, spoiler. Don't ignore what I just said. I almost let something go from the Star Wars there. I'm not going to be that guy that does the spoiler.
A stormtrooper dies.
A stormtrooper
does die.
Yeah, that's
the spoiler. There is a stormtrooper who will die.
Good save, Josh.
Yeah. All right.
Nice.
Just like in the original, a stormtrooper did die as well.
Okay, so Josh, in 2014, you predicted that there would be a movement in the I/O space.
Yeah, I did.
It didn't happen either, did it?
Well, actually, what ended up happening was reactive streams instead, and the whole like streamy things.
Yeah, and Scala.js Stream made great strides and is now turning into FS2. That's relevant here, even if it's not, strictly only about I/O.
Actually, that's true. There's been quite a lot of different stuff that's happened around Scala I/O. It's just that there hasn't really been an emergent sort of recommended option yet, right? I mean, we've got. I think I can't remember whether Rapture I/O was around last year.
It was.
It was okay,
Yeah.
but that is interesting. So is Ammonite's file handlers.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that Ammonite has risen and gained quite a bit of popularity. So, maybe we're not talking I/O space here, but at least hey, UI space. I don't know.
Yeah, Ammonite's kind of a I/O space.
Yeah,
I mean,
it has that ops library that includes a lot
Right.
of stuff for talking to the file system and processes and so forth.
Yeah, my build tool prediction about Buck and Pants and Nix is not really panning out as much as I thought it would, but I do know that Bazel, the Google Blaze, I guess it's in beta now, does have Scala support. And I know that Pants continues to get better, and I still like Buck a lot.
I spent a few days a couple months ago looking at Pants because I was and
You were Christmas.
Take that out of context. That is hilarious.
the English guy is laughing now.
Actually, you're the sophisticated one. You're not supposed to be laughing. It's us very stupid Americans that should be laughing at this one.
Whoever sold you that bill of goods? That's what
Well, I don't know.
It's just an accent. There's no more class here than anywhere else.
All
Trust
right.
me.
So, in those few days that you were looking at Pants, Seth, go on.
Well, I was curious about how actively maintained and how much it was used, and so it's clearly still being used by the same handful of major customers who are basically the people who are who built it. And so I wonder if it seemed to me there's a sort of paradoxical situation here where it's not going much of anywhere because the market is too small, because the market consists only of gigantic companies.
That could be.
Right?
That's a weird problem.
And
to
so
have.
yeah, it is a weird problem to have. And so then there are a handful of these really big shops using, I mean, not gigantic, right? Like I'm thinking of Foursquare, for example, which is not not tiny but not gigantic either. So each of those shops is sort of big enough that they can build whatever they want for themselves. Like they don't have to rely on a sort of open source consortium of cooperating people. They can just do it. So I think that the uptake would only increase if they start thinking about making it useful for somewhat smaller shops.
Well, yeah, I would actually throw it at. This is my opinion. When you have these big software projects for big companies, usually the small projects are what suffer. So you have this thing which is designed for a massive amount of code and builds all of it in parallel or whatever, and actually implementing a small project on it is a pain in the butt. And a lot of the small conveniences that you want just aren't there, and the people who would add it probably won't because it's big. That's kind of... Anyway, I think like with Pants, right now everybody uses Maven for resolving dependencies, for better or worse. And I think that it needs to really make that seamless. Like, can I take an existing project and like pantsify it without any kind of pain?
Yeah.
A lot of the philosophies differ from small projects. A lot of small projects are separate Git repositories, and Pants wants everything to be in one giant repo, that sort of thing.
There's actually a prominent apology in the pants documentation saying we're sorry this is so hard to get started with, and it is pretty true. Although I was able to figure it out, especially with the help of I'm not going to remember the person's name, but there's a repo with a sample project. I'll link to it in the show notes. That was super helpful. Although the sample project is out of date now, so I had to figure out like what had changed in order to update it myself. I'll put the link in the show notes in the hopes that someone will sort of take over that repo and update it because it was really the single most helpful thing for me for getting started with it.
Nice.
Well, anyway, I don't know if I'm going to make a build tool prediction for the next year. I think I won't. I will refrain from it.
SPT 1.0 will be released?
I'm not even going to make that prediction, man. I'm not even going to make that. Yeah.
I'll predict that 01310 will be out soon. That's a safe prediction.
Are we done with last year's predictions? Were there any other ones? That...
No,
actually, here's another SPT prediction. SPT will get faster in 2016. People who are following the SPT channels on Gitter and following the SPT ticket database know that there's a lot of activity right now on figuring out performance problems with SPT around resolution and other things and trying to fix them. So I'd really like to see some of those efforts bear fruit, and I think that they will.
Cool.
Yeah, there's some real tar pits you can get stuck in there as well. Recently on one of the projects we used and I know this isn't SBT's fault, I think it's an Ivy thing, but we used the dynamic resolution, the minimum version for some libraries, and it changed the resolution time from a couple of seconds up to over a minute, just adding those in there. That was unbelievably slow. And actually what that was it was a dependency we brought in that used those dynamic ones. So I ended up writing a little auto plugin that just forced everything to a particular version and overrode it, which then saved 60 seconds off the resolution time, just by saying, okay, just use this damn version of the a Commons library, I think it was, or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of performance stuff you can get mired in there.
So I don't have a 2014 prediction, or rather 2015 prediction that I'm looking back on right now, but perhaps a retrospective in 2015 that's like, worth a round of applause. So correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Scala.js go non-experimental in 2015?
It did.
It did?
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. And I mean, as far as I know, I mean, I'd like to get some more intuition from Sebastian, but as far as I know, I mean, their community has exploded. They have a lot of companies using what they do now, and they're focusing a lot on libraries and tooling and stuff like this. So that's really cool that Scala.js has sort of taken off so much. And I've actually I've recently looked around at at all these lists that have been made of all of these alternative JavaScript frameworks. I think when Scala.js sort of arose as an idea, it was at a time where there was a proliferation of JavaScript or whatever to JavaScript frameworks, and it was sort of at the time, well, that really looks like an uphill battle, you guys. But since I've looked at some of these top X lists, Scala.js is consistently, listed as a top 10 sort of actually reliable framework that one can use to compile to JS. So that's really great. I think that they not only developed this compiler so far, but matured it to the point where actually it's competed pretty well with all these other frameworks and sits sort of at the top of these 80,000 other things that exist. So that's pretty neat in my opinion.
Would you make a 2016 prediction about Scala.js?
We're going to abandon the JVM and everyone's going to compile only to JS.
That's a bold prediction right now. I like
Everybody
that one.
uses V8. Yeah.
I don't know. But another cool thing that happened in 2015, it's we need to cue the scary music. Dotty compiled itself Ooh.
Wow.
So it's kind of self-aware now.
It's the, you need the dramatic.
Like the
chipmunk
singularity
for
has
that.
been reached.
Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun.
Okay, so I'm gonna make related to Dotty. I'm gonna make a 2016 prediction.
Go for
I
it.
think late 2016, like the end of the year, we will finally have both Dotty and Scala.c compiling to Tasty. Very, very late in the year. Actually, possibly in 2017, but I think that's how long it'll take.
So then you reserve the right to make it a 2017 prediction in the instance that it's 2016.
I propose that it will get worked on. That
It's
it'll
a
get to the
rollover.
point that people will actively work on it, getting Scala.c and Dotty to compile together into the same project.
It's a rollover prediction, like a rollover goal, a rollover milestone. We didn't make it on this one, but we'll just roll that over to the next one.
There's an important piece of Dotty work that either just got done or is like almost done, which is making it possible for you to actually specify Dotty as your compiler in SBT. Just edit your build.sbt and change the Scala version, and you get Dotty instead. I'm not calling that done because I've seen the commits and the talk, but there hasn't been like a blog post about it. But I think I will predict an explosion of interest in Dotty once that key thing is released and announced.
Yeah.
Because right now Dotty is actually pretty hard to try because not only is the SPT support not there, but there's no REPL.
So in other Dotty news, I'm not sure if folks saw this announcement, but there was Martin published his New Year's resolutions, which include basically a lot more writing, I guess, about what Dotty is, how it works, differences between Dotty and Scala 2 series, and also getting into the architecture of Dotty, which Martin touts as rather odd, and he says that it's he gives the analogy that it resembles more of a functional database. So anyway, he promises to write a lot more about it in the upcoming year, which, if anybody's interested, I guess, in contributing to Dotty or getting on that bandwagon anytime soon, would make things a lot more accessible.
Yeah, that'll be good.
I do predict that this might be the year of Dotty, where a lot of Dotty-related things start getting pushed. And I think next year will be the year of Dotty migration tools. Because I don't think Dotty can actually get adopted until there's really good tooling. And I don't think there'll be really good tooling until Dotty is super, super compelling.
I'm just showing you Dotty there, just so you know.
It's the year of Dotty.
Curled up. She'll be happy to hear that it's the year of Dotty. Dot,
What does she think about the year of Dotty tooling?
Dot, what do you think about the year of Dotty tooling? I think that's your answer right there. Yeah,
So we've had dogs on Scalawags before, but I think this is the first time we've interviewed a dog.
Now I've got to get the blue tack to stick my camera onto the top of the monitor again. It's a very high production value system, this.
Did you actually have one of those like eyeball-shaped things that?
I do.
Right.
Well, I'm working on I'm old school, man. I have a workstation with a big monitor.
Yeah. So
not to derail, but I'm gonna get us back onto some
go for it.
things. So we had some user contributed predictions. Because we had it on Twitter. So I'm gonna go from bottom to top. We have Marius Sudir, or I don't even know if I pronounced that. His prediction was that Scala.js and React Native will take off. React Native will take off. What is React Native?
I don't know. It obviously didn't take off, did it?
Go ahead, Heather.
Well, I don't have a lot to say about it. All I know is that I've seen a lot of noise about it. So I mean, if noise is any indicator, it might be something that's going somewhere.
Is React Native like the React.js framework?
Well, I can explain the basic idea. So it's the UI part. So React.js is a UI framework. React Native implements that UI framework using native iOS or native Android widgets.
Oh.
Nice.
So it's so you write the same JavaScript code and get a native app out.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm just looking it up. It looks very pretty, which means, of course, if I wrote something in it, it would still look like crap.
So and Facebook is actually using it for the Facebook app on iOS and Android is actually based on this. So this is not just sort of a Facebook Labs experiment, but something that they're committed to.
Yeah, I'm going to get behind that prediction as well because I think that React.js is one of the better ways to write GUIs. I'm a big Knockout.js fan, which is also a functional reactive programming model. So I do think that the reactive programming models are going to take off a little bit. React.js is definitely a very strong competitor. React Native should be pretty good too.
Yeah,
Scala.js has tied itself to React.js. So, in my opinion,
I went to the first or second React.js meetup in Boston earlier this year, and I was kind of amazed. I was there. I was working at a company where we needed to. We were doing mobile development, so it was a candidate technology for us. But then also I was just there because I was like, oh, great! There's this new framework with a heavy emphasis on FRP-like stuff, on immutable version of the DOM, all of that. This is relevant to my interest as a functional programmer. I'll go. And there was not one word was spoken at the entire meetup. It was like 4 speakers that gave any hint that that people were there or were interested in it because of immutability, or these theoretical concerns of mine just didn't come up at all. They're just like, this is this great UI framework. It's new. It's really clean. You can write good code with it. It's just not from a CS perspective at all. And I was like, that's awesome, right? So these ideas are getting in just purely on their merits and the merits of what you can do with it and how easy it makes things, and not because of any it's attached to some ideology, you might say.
Yeah.
Which is how it should.
Yeah, I mean, not that I wouldn't be very pleased if people were sort of led to the ideology as well through it.
Yeah, so I'm going to back up that prediction that React and React Native is going to take off. Paul Phillips tells us that he thinks alpaca exports will be up at least 3%. We should mention. Anyone who is an alpaca farmer, there are quite a lot in my neighborhood, in my neck of the woods.
It's very quick tangent, but this reminds me. One of the it was the Scala Summit actually one year that I drove out to in Crested Butte, and I drove back up over Cottonwood Pass on the way back. And as I'm coming back down, there's a small town there that had its annual llama half marathon event, which was massive. Basically, I drove back down into this little town, and the streets are shut off, and there's hundreds of people running with their llamas. It was a definitely kind of alternative sort of moment for me.
Next year we should join in, if you can tell us what it is.
It was quite exciting. I stopped and went and got a cup of coffee and watched the llama half marathon for a while, because when and where else are you going to see that in your life? And there were some nice bright colours and things, you know. These were styling llamas that were being run. So it really was quite an exciting event.
That was the final Scala Summit, am I right?
It's the final so far. I don't know whether we'll have another one coming up here. It would be nice, but it might have been the very last one. I don't know.
That's the one that's in San Francisco, right? Scala Summit?
No.
Or no?
This was the one Crested Butte, yeah.
This was Bruce Eckel's event.
Yeah. We lost Heather. We just lost Heather. Somehow.
That's because of Scala Summit, man. She can't take it.
just couldn't. She's like, I'm out of here.
I hate mountains.
Only
I hate llamas.
one mountain range is allowed to have Scala, and it's in Switzerland.
We were debating, or possibly Heather's lamophobic. That's the other possibility. The mere mention of llamas is enough to scare Heather away.
Yeah, my internet dropped out, so now I'm on my phone.
Okay.
I mean, it could be that, or it could just be my internet is lamophobic, actually. Could be. I mean, whatever you think. I don't know. It's up to you. It's your prediction.
Lamophobia is actually a very serious condition. We shouldn't make light of it.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I forget how we got there. Something about
that was about Paul Phillips'
alpacas.
prediction about alpaca exports. All right, and Predef1, which I actually forget his real name. Because I was
That
called
is his
Predef.
real name. He had some very, very mean parents.
Yeah. He named his son Predef too. Anyway, Scala will enter page 2 of Stack Overflow tags and surpass Perl. It'll crack 10,000 Reddit subscribers and pass closure.
Well, I like those. Those are measurable predictions. We should stick those in to remind ourselves next year and see how it did.
No, I might be crazy, but I thought Scala had surpassed closure in some metrics. I guess not Reddit subscribers.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, I think that there was somebody who wrote a blog article about some of these statistics, right? About how oh no, actually it was Simon Peyton Jones. Oh no, yeah, he gave a talk at one point a couple of years ago, I think, where he was showing a bunch of statistics about it was Scala, Haskell, Clojure, a bunch of other languages that tend to be popular on sites like Y Combinator, but basically. What he found was that languages like Haskell and Clojure are very highly talked about, but more frequently chosen to be used in real projects or something. He had some graphs that he was showing that were really funny. So he had Scala up there as well, which he tried to make the point that people talk about Scala less and use it more or something.
Yeah, so I don't want to predict that Scala is going to be more popular than Clojure because I want both of those popularities to increase. Yeah. I would rather predict that Scala will be more popular than Java, although I'm not willing to do that yet.
I think we've got a long road.
Yeah.
I think we've got a long road for that particularly.
Yeah. How about we predict that it's loved more?
I want to predict this, though. I will predict that there will be more activity around languages like Swift, Scala, Rust than there will be around languages like C++ and Perl.
Yeah, Swift is interesting now that they've finally done the open sourcing part. I'm waiting for it to show up in some kind of usable form on Ubuntu, and then I'll give it a whirl.
Ooh, actually, let's throw this out there. How about the decline of Ruby?
It's already happening, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it's not a prediction if it's sort of already started.
How do we know that it's already started?
I just replaced the project that was using Ruby with one using Scala, so there's a data point right there.
Yeah, we have one data point. This is a theory now. If we don't collect data, we can keep it a theory.
Because I'm seeing more and more of these Code Academy-like websites pop up, and the first thing they teach is Ruby.
Yep.
So whether or not people are using Ruby more or less, I can't say, but it seems like people are teaching Ruby more, at least in this free, online, anybody can access it whenever sort of way.
Yeah, I do think Ruby seems to be better than Java for teaching people. You get into things faster, and you can enjoy yourself quicker. Kind of like why people teach Python instead of Java as your first language. So,
I think in the long run that this town isn't big enough for both Ruby and Python, and I think Python will win.
Python has a really strong showing still in the maths and science areas, and it's just not going away anytime soon. There, that's what I'm seeing.
What about Python 2?
Python, well, I think actually most of the scientists still use Python 2. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I've been using Python 3 because of Enzyme Sublime. But most of the prototypical code that I get from scientists is still Python 2 based.
Are there certain key dependencies that haven't been ported yet?
I don't think so, no, because as far as I know, NumPy is the one that they mostly use, and that is, I think, ready to go. But I think it's just these are scientists. If it's not broke, why would you fix it? It's been working for them for, I don't know, 20 years or so. It does what they need. They're not software engineers, so they don't really give a crap about which language they're using. They just want to write something that works.
Right. One word, Fortran.
Yeah.
Well,
Still survivor.
I want to clarify my language predictions, though, that I don't hate any of the languages I said will decline. I'm just hoping that more and more FP rise. I actually expect it to, given what I've seen. Given things like React.js, and given where you've seen the JavaScript landscape shift, like all the functional things have really been kind of taken over the thought leadership, if you can call it thought leadership or whatever. I don't know if that's even a real word or a marketing thing.
Yep.
Anyway, Python. I think you see the same thing in Python 3 versus Python 2. And it has coroutines.
Yes.
Oh, that's another bit of news. Although I don't know if any of us have had time yet to really look at Alex's new Scala Coroutines library.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
What do you think, Josh? Tell us.
So, I always have a soft spot for things like this. I was a big fan of the CPS transform in the past. Coroutines have a similar functionality where you create a function that will yield its computation to another function with values. It's more limited, but more flexible. I get the design of coroutines is more limited than what you could do with delimited continuations, but it's a lot more easy to digest what's happening and write code for it.
Right.
So it appears to be a big macro that does a pretty decent job. A lot of the examples are kind of nice. I think it'll be really handy for if you're running heavily iteration-dependent libraries and things where you have lots of co-iteration or suspended things.
Yeah, I've certainly seen what seemed to me like just marvelously clear Python code that uses generators, which is about the same thing as coroutines. So I imagine those examples are similar, and there really are problems where this is just a beautiful way of writing an algorithm, and that there aren't good alternatives.
Yeah, and you could with the CPS transform before, you could kind of fake coroutines. There was even one of the documentation things that I looked at had how to do coroutines with delimited continuations. But delimited continuations were just kind of, the types were a lot too hard for the common mortal. Whereas coroutines, I feel like it is a lot easier, but there's still this oddity of when you get a coroutine back, you have to keep track of what values it yields versus what it returns when it's done computing.
Right.
And that's kind of an oddity.
Is there anything in the documentation about support for Scala collections? I think the lack of compatibility with the collections library was one of the major things that kind of killed the delimited continuations plugin.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I think I didn't see anything in the documentation, but a lot of the examples used while loops when they were doing things over collections, which would, work. That's what you had to do with delimited continuations as well. So,
okay, I guess I'll look that up and put something about it in the show notes.
Yeah, you should. In fact, I'm not really prepared to really talk in depth about it, but that's a good thing. We can look it up and do a whole episode on collections, coroutines, and transducers or something.
Right, our other mythical, ever-receding episode of the future.
Yeah, well, it's more I kind of want to do something different for that episode, and I haven't had time to actually put it together. So I apologize.
Speaking of episodes, I have a horrible feeling that I still haven't published the audio for the last one yet. Right, Seth?
I think that's correct.
Oh crap! Sorry guys. Sorry everyone. It's
All
been
right,
really.
I'm slapping you.
I forgot, but before that it was like travel to Europe and a really busy Christmas and just loads of stuff going on. So and when we came into this, I'm like, did I ever get round to that?
Yeah, you should have ruined your family's Christmas to post that audio.
Yeah. New Year's resolution is to make sure that instead of posting audio like I should be doing, to just yell at Dick repeatedly.
Nice. Oh dear. Well, it is my job. I'm just very, very slow at it. Hey, I set a new record for the last one. Obviously, I peaked at that moment and then broke everything. So, right, I'll get on it.
You peaked in your career a little too early. All right, so let's do a final, like it's I actually have to go shortly, but let's do a final recap of your biggest prediction for 2016.
Okay. I haven't made mine yet.
You haven't made any, yeah. So let's all go through. We'll do Dick, Heather, Seth, and me because that's the order you show up on my screen.
All right, so mine is actually sort of more of a pledge. They say the best way to predict the future is to create it, and so I've been, as you know. Oh, sorry, I managed to wake up the echo. Alexa, cancel. Cancel. Cancel.
Alexa!
Predict Alexa will be cancelled in the future.
She was having a conversation with me here. Something set her off. So anyway, so I've been using Enzyme and Sublime in particular fairly successfully for several months now, and it's become my primary development environment. And I've been holding off saying it's ready for everyone. Like, people talk to me and they're like, should I use it? And I'm like, go ahead and use it. Don't expect tech support, because there's a lot of threads to sort of keep in your head when you're using it right now. But I think that sometime this year, I'll start blogging too. How about that for a New Year's resolution? And my blogs will be about setting up an alternative development environment to the big boys that are out there, using Enzyme and your editor of choice. And I think that'll be a fun one to do. And sort of some of the pitfalls, like there are a lot of things that are kind of fiddly. When it works really nicely and it's very fast. But then you have to be a bit aware of the things that can go wrong and how to fix them and that sort of thing. You almost need a troubleshooting flowchart to work through it. So
editor of your choice. Does this mean Microsoft Word?
No, I'm a Sublime guy right now. I really like Sublime, although I'm a bit worried because they haven't. They've been in beta for 2 years now with version 3, I think, and there hasn't been a new version of the beta for a long time. And
I've switched to Atom.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder whether they've just sort of given up now with Atom, which would be a shame because I love the editor. But we'll see.
I mean, Atom is really great. I mean, I recommend it. I switched from Sublime to Atom because things got slow in Sublime land.
Yeah, I think for me the downside to Atom at the moment, at least, is their support for high DPI screens on Linux is bad to the point of unusability. Like, dialogues come up with, for some reason, text that's 4 times the size that it should be, and it doesn't all fit on the dialogue, so you can't press the buttons and things. It makes it unusable. So there's some things there to sort out, but in the meantime, I'm still loving the Sublime stuff. So, but any of this effort ultimately benefits Enzyme itself. You know, as we work on the features, it benefits all of the editors. So that'll be exciting. I think sometime this year we'll try and get Enzyme in a form that people can use it without like burying weeks of time trying to figure out how to get the whole thing to work properly.
Nice.
That's me.
Nice. I hope that comes true as well.
Yeah.
Heather, what's your prediction?
My prediction? It's more like a hope. Can I hope instead?
You can hope, as long as you make it real.
I hope. Well, yeah. I hope that we get better at community libraries. I hope that more community libraries appear, and that, you know, there's more people interacting in the community. I hope in that direction.
Yep, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, me too.
I hope that all
there's not much
libraries
to it
use
other
the
than that.
Scala namespace as well.
Oh, God.
Sorry, that was a random rant from our chat. Anyway. All right, Seth.
So yeah, I'll predict the first new Scala modules will be added to the Scala platform, this concept of a Scala module will start to take shape. Right now, it's more just been these sort of orphaned parts of the old standard library, and so I think by the end of the year, the perception will change, and it will be about new libraries that are separate from the core standard library, but have some sort of blessing from EPFL and Typesafe. And then no one's mentioned Scala 2.12, so this is I hope this is a safe prediction, but I'll predict that 2.12 will be out, or at least in release candidates, and that this will accelerate the demise of Java 6 in the Scala community, despite the unhappiness of Android people about that. I mean, once 2.12 starts taking root, we've already seen movement away from Java 6, libraries that don't work on it anymore, and I think that will accelerate this year.
So I have related predictions, I guess.
Go.
Interesting. So Scala 2.12, I predict that Java 9 is going to wreck the ship this year when it comes out. It comes out at the end of the year, right?
I think that's the aim. It could slip again,
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, actually, I should make this prediction. I predict that the module system will actually slip Java 9 this year into next year, or the entire community will be in modest upheaval to try to adapt to changes. I think it'll, like, even with the kind of seamless, we don't break normal standard Java things, I think it's going to be a serious breaking change that everyone's going to have to deal with. And the hardest hit will actually be languages like Scala or Clojure, probably. Yeah, my second prediction is actually about mobile development and Android. I predict that Swift is going to actually see increased adoption, and I predict that Android will have to combat that.
Either with their own, with some environment that uses Swift, or some other kind of functionally inspired language that gives a nod to the kind of Swift way of doing things.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that, like, this React Native thing takes off, and that's how they combat it. I don't know.
I find it hard to believe that Google or somebody doesn't have some Swift-like secret project to really take the whole Android platform to, into the future. Like that must be happening somewhere, even if they're not telling us about it.
I've often thought that I'm surprised we haven't seen Go running on Android in some form still.
So I know absolutely nothing about Android,
yeah.
But if I did, I wouldn't be able to speak about it, basically.
No,
I was actually just meaning the community of Android developers, I think, will have to combat Swift.
Yeah, I've used this is a whole other episode, but I have in the past dabbled in writing Android apps using Scala, and it is possible, and I've known people and companies that have done it. My own experiences are that it's not a quick cycle time to do that, and probably there are less expensive ways to do development
There's a new tool called Protify by Perry Nguyen or Nguyen. Nguyen. See,
yeah.
I'm really good at pronouncing people's names.
Nice job, man.
Yeah. Thanks for saving that. You should see that because the turnaround time is freaking amazing.
That's good. It's going to take something like that, plus the fact that it produces multi-megabyte binaries even for a sort of basic, very simple app. Those are the two issues that I've seen with it.
I think most people seem to discount in software is the cost of writing good tools and the importance for adoption, right? Like, if your tool works out of the box and makes it easy for you to get things set up, and it solves some pain point you had, you're more likely to adopt it. If you see that the benefits of pulling in the new thing is better, outweighing the cost of pulling it in. And for a lot of these mass adoption things that you want to get, the tooling is really important. You get to the point with like Android development where you have, GUIs to drag and drop and lay out your widgets and then just wire in things like Visual Basic or whatever. The reason that those things sell and got mass adoption is just the tooling got good, right? It made it easier for development. And I kind of see Android trying to do this. And a lot of times the way that those once the tooling gets really good in this old entrenched language that isn't as ideal as it could be as some new hipster language that's just so much better for writing the actual logic and code comes in and gets the tooling good enough that people are willing to give up the automated junk. Yeah. So I kind of see that starting to happen a little bit. I just hope it continues.
Here's a prediction that really is just a wish, which is that I hope or predict that someone will team up with Perry on Scala Android stuff. Like Perry is doing amazing work, but I think not that many people know about it because he's just not interested in writing docs and making websites. So hopefully someone will appear who does like to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, a tech writer. We need more tech writers.
We certainly do. I've worked with a few good tech writers over the years, and they are worth their weight in gold. Those guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else?
No, I think those are predictions. We stand by them. You can see next year how wrong we will. Hopefully, we'll be as wrong as we were last year.
Mine is actually more of a pledge to try and help get Enzyme into some kind of usable state for more people than it is now. Because I can tell you it's quite usable if you're willing to put the effort in to get it set up and keep it tuned. We'll try and make that a bit simpler. So I guess that's probably about it for the show. I was just going to part with the don't give in to the dark side, Luke. Hate, anger. In your dealings with the community, hate, anger. These lead to the dark side. So be a Jedi.
Yeah. You notice I didn't make any predictions about diversity in computer science because I think the problem with diversity in computer science is the fact that people are still sexist in general. Even though you don't want to be, you're unconsciously so. Which is why I think improvement comes by bettering yourself. So be part of the light, not the dark.
Yeah. Good.
Anyway, there's another one for you. But I think we should all try to make that not a prediction, but a, what did you call it? An aspiration?
Aspiration. Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah. Let's do it.
New Year's resolution.
All right. Anyway, great episode, guys. And thanks, everyone, for listening.
That.